We are very thankful to Sir for accepting our invitation at a very short notice. But students, Sir is an enthusiastic learner. He is trying to understand how human brain works. That is something awesome. Sir is very passionate about machine learning, AI, bioelectronics, biomedical devices, and cutting-edge research and developments. Sir has obtained PhD degree from Korea University and under which Sir has designed and fabricated a smart device that can automatically detect and identify the concerned biological cells from a heterogeneous cell sample. In short, Sir has written an algorithm that can accurately identify the count of concentration of RBC and WBC, which is very, very crucial in today's scenario. And there's a populations from a drop of blood sample. Awesome, right? He's an ardent researcher in AI in healthcare field and have several publications in leading journals. Sir, it's an honor to have you over here. And
Thank you, Anita, for having me. Yeah, so shall we start the presentation?
Yes, sir, we can start with this.
Okay, so I'm trying to share. Okay, I think something. Is can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah. So it is not allowing me to share.
Okay, one second.
Wait.
So how about now? Can you?
Okay, let me check. It's taking a little bit, resources. More resources means my session is hanging. Is it because for the video which I turn on, or because I never used the text before? Yeah.
Sir, you can turn off the video. It's fine if you have some network.
Yeah. Well, 1 second. Yeah. Actually, it is not allowing me to do anything.
Okay, sir, can you just share?
So what I can do? I can shut down and again try to log in again. Okay.
Sir, you can share. Send me the PPT. I can share it from my system.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Sir, I hope you're able to present now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, is it visible now?
It's loading. Sir. Yes, it's visible.
Okay. How about now? In full mode?
Yes, it's visible in full mode.
Okay. Fine.
Welcome,
Okay.
sir. Welcome
Yeah,
back.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, so students, as the title is Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning for Healthcare. So, before starting, so I want to give my little introduction. So, I am Mohendra Roy, Assistant Professor in the Department of Information and Communication Technology at Pandit Dindayal Energy University. So, most of you are from maybe Gujarat, so you know about this university. So, my research area basically biomedical device as well as some biomedical applications using AI and ML. So I develop both the hardware as well as the software. So that is my expertise. So so according to you, if I say intelligence, so what do you mean by intelligence? Okay. So before starting, what is artificial intelligence? So we have to first look out, what exactly we mean by intelligence. So if you know, Google it, or if you go to the Wikipedia, you will find various definitions for intelligence. But if you look out carefully, the attributes which generally used for these definitions in many different literature or in many resources, whether maybe in website, maybe in books, okay, they have the commonality in attributes. Okay. So these attributes are the intelligence system, which are exhibit some kind of logical attributes. Means they have the logical thinking, or not thinking. You cannot say it's a thinking, but the ability to operate logically. Okay, and then having understanding means if the system, whether it is a living being or a artificial one, if it has these attributes of understanding, that is also a flavor of intelligence. And then self-awareness. Self-awareness is the most crucial one. So before, yeah. So someone is asking question. If you have any doubt, then okay, you can raise your hand, and the host can ask this question on behalf. Okay, you can provide in chat. Okay, rather than asking directly. Otherwise, it will hamper the session. Okay. And another is learning. Learning. There are so many different ways of learning. Okay, learning from the experiences. The experience means the from past behavior, as well as learning from the enforcement. Okay, means you are supplying the information from outside also, not only the self awareness, but from outside. When you supply the we will go discuss this little bit later, means what is supervised and unsupervised learning. So there are so many different ways of learning. Okay, and then emotional knowledge or emotional intelligence. Okay, if the system is having or exhibits some kind of emotions, then that is also considered as a flavor of intelligence. Okay, and reasoning and planning, these are very basic. Okay. And also critical thinking, problem solving. So these are the flavor of, or you can say attributes of a intelligent system. Okay. So based on their category, or you can say we can divide this flavor or into three major categories. Okay, so one is analytical capability, means where the system has the capacity to discriminate, compare, have the capability to logically interpret and do some arithmetic operations. Okay, these are analytical capabilities. Right? And then next one is creativity. In the creativity category, or you can say vertical, so the capability of imagination, okay, and capability of intuition and capability of integration. These three major attributes, falls in this vertical. Okay, so capability of imagination, it is basically it's a more complex intelligence. You can say criteria of, or you can say flavor of intelligence. Okay, the capability of discrimination means the first analytical capability is basics. Mean even your simple machine can do that. Means simple system like your calculator having this analytical capability, but the capability of imagination, intuition, and integration, these are far more complex. Okay, you can say 1 degree above the analytical capability. Okay, so there's even the living organisms in, you can say, the intelligence systems. If you say organisms or life, those organisms which have life, they are far more complex than in a artificially developed system. Even these living systems, all of them don't exhibit all these, attributes. Okay, the more complex the system is, more degree of this kind of attributes they generally execute or they generally have. Okay. Then, if you go far more complex system, then the learning capacity means experience-based learning capacity. If the system is there, means this attributes is there in a system, then it is called a far more intelligent system. That means it has this capacity to learn from its previous experiences, or if someone supplies some stimulus from outside also. Okay, so basically these are the three major pillars, or you can say classes of intelligence. Okay. Now, for your homework, means for, or you can say food for your thoughts. If I say, so this maybe you can take as an your homework for this webinar. So what if a artificial system or a machine have or exhibits all these capabilities what we have discussed in just one slide ago, okay, previous slide. So what do you think? Okay, if a system or artificial system have these all of these flavors of intelligence, okay, so what will be the scenario? Okay, till now there is no such kind of system, but imagine if any system have this all the category of intelligence, okay, or combination of all this. Okay, so this is a homework for you. Okay, we may discuss at later part of this seminar. Okay, now the thing is that how we can quantify intelligence. Okay, you can say that we can develop a artificial system, but how we are going to quantify that whether the system is how much capability, what is the capability of the system, and how much intelligence is there. Okay, for that the father of AI, we generally call him father of AI, the Alan Turing, the famous Alan Turing. If you heard about him, so even there is a movie in his biography, on his biography. So he suggested one test, okay, to quantify intelligence. Basically, to quantify whether a artificial system having the capability to exhibits human-like intelligence. Okay, if you develop a intelligence system, whether that intelligence system exhibits similar intelligence to that of a human, to test that, he's proposed a method called Turing test. Okay, so in that test, what it looks like if you keep a artificial system in one room and another human being in another room, and you are doing unknowingly, means you don't know what, in which room which system is there, whether it's a human or is an artificial agent. Okay, and you are doing conversation with both of them in text. Okay, you don't know, but you are doing conversation. Okay, and both of them are giving you the answers in text or in text form, and you are having this conversation simultaneously. And if you cannot distinguish which one is provided by human or which one is provided by, means these answers are provided by artificial system, then that artificial system, you can say, that exhibits human level intelligence. Okay, so this idea or this method is suggested by Alan Turing. So this is called a Turing test. That's right. But see, what do you think? This method is fair enough or not? So think little bit. Uh, Using this methodology, whether you can say distinguish, or you can say evaluate a intelligence system fairly or not. Okay, that is a question. So because this conversation having in text, okay, or in modern day you can take it little bit further, you can say voice also. Okay, same text and voice, it is okay. But this text and voice, this conversation is very, very narrow. What do I mean by narrow? Narrow means it can do conversation only. That our intelligence system only can do conversation, but human can do multiple things, not only just conversation. The human can go, drive, they can play different kind of games, and as well as cook and do multiple kind of activities, not only just conversation. Okay, so you cannot say, but just by having this equal you can say amount of conversation or equal level of conversation, you can say a machine equivalent to a human level or exhibits a system human level intelligence. So you cannot justify that one. Okay, so for that we need different kind of attributes, or different kind of you can say evaluation criteria, or different kind of you can say metric for evaluation. Okay, so before that we have to also know what kind of what category we can divide, in what type of categories we can divide the AI system. Okay, so we can divide in a, you can say, roughly, or you can say in majority basis, means based on their majority of operations, we can divide the artificial intelligence in three major classes. Okay, one, the first basic is narrow AI. So those AI means still now whatever AI is available in the market as well as in the R&D labs. Okay, no matter which R&D lab you can name it, whether it's a Google, whether it's a Microsoft, whether it's Baidu, okay, or whether it's OpenAI. So no matter whichever means ultra intelligence AI till now we have, all of them are narrow. Narrow means they can perform or design for a particular task. Okay. So for example, the Google Assistant or Alexa, even you can take the example of Tesla car. Okay. So they are, developed keeping in mind for particular application, for a particular reason. Means Google Assistant only can do conversation. Okay, Alexa only can do conversation and give you some feedback based on your query. Okay, a Google Assistant cannot go for you and cook for you. Okay, and as well as Tesla car, it is designed for self-driving. Okay, it cannot cook for you, or it cannot play for you. Okay, it cannot do other than the self-driving car, though they have some multiple operations also, but they are perfectly built for self-driving only. Okay, keeping in mind self-driving perspective. Okay, so these all are narrow AI. Okay, till now whatever AI is developed, I mean they are in the market. Okay, and they all are narrow. Okay, now come to the next degree, means if you go more higher degree of intelligence, those in artificial intelligence system, those who have all the capabilities like a human being, okay, then that AI system will be called as a general AI, means artificial general intelligence. Okay, till now there is no such kind of system, but all these companies, means AI based companies, they are targeting for artificial general intelligence. Okay, and recently if you means follow the news of recent development in AI and you are AI enthusiastic, you might heard about the recent news from Google's DeepMind company. Okay, so they suggested, or they mentioned that a general AI, means artificial general intelligence, can be achieved with reinforcement learning only. Means you don't need any other kind of learning methodology. Only using reinforcement and learning, you can achieve artificial general intelligence. This is just a news, but this is also a debatable comment. Okay, whether this reinforcement learning is enough or not, or other in future what kind of different methods maybe we can see, or the development we can witness. So that is debatable. Okay, so next to that means if you go one more degree above, means if you find the more complex intelligence system, then we can say it artificial super intelligence. Okay, what is artificial super intelligence? Those intelligence system which may have this capability, or which will exhibit this capacity more than human level intelligence. Okay, human intelligence has limitations. Okay, if we can find, or if we can build a system which have this capability more than a human being in all every respect, then it will be artificial super intelligence. Okay, you may heard, or you already may watch that movie, Terminator. Okay, the Terminator, the concept of Skynet. Okay, those intelligence system, means network of intelligence, which trying to govern the, means which in the movie which try to govern the whole world. Okay, that is the example, an example of you can say artificial super intelligence. Okay, the Skynet. Okay, so these are all still under development. Okay, we cannot say that we in our generation we can achieve that, but those companies the who are doing research in this field, artificial intelligence, they claim that it inevitable and it will be in near future. So some of the there are two school of thoughts in this AI field. One is advocating for this artificial super intelligence, one is against that. Okay, and one who are against that, they are actually not in favor, or as well as not seeing this is a possible scenario. But those who are advocating, they generally see that this is a inevitable consequence of development of AI. Okay, so we have to prepare for this, because we don't know whether it's a inevitable, means it is going to be or not going to be, but we have to prepare, means as a AI developer we have to have some kind of framework to handle this kind of development properly. Because if you see this, even if we have this artificial intelligence system, even for a human level supremacy, means the same as human level, then also it will create many problems in the society. Okay, not only they are going to provide solution, they also have will exhibit some kind of unrest in the society, especially the disruption in the job market. Okay, so we have to formulate some kind of legal boundaries, or you can say ethical committees. Or you can say some kind of regulatory agency to handle this development properly. Okay, so there are now different kind of ethics committees, similar like nuclear ethics or nuclear. There are some agencies which control the nuclear weapon development or nuclear research. Similarly, in AI research, there are some agencies which are coming up to regulate the or to formulate some laws for that. Okay. Okay. So now come to the risks. Sorry, advantage, risks, and future. What are the advantages? So the advantage, you are already using some kind of product out of the AI research. Okay, so the most common one you are already using in your phone, this Google Assistant, as well as some of you may be using Alexa. So these are the benefit you can have out of this AI boom. Okay, whatever AI research is going on, these are the day-to-day life applications you can use. Apart from that, the major advantages like self-driving car. So this is going to be another disruption in the market, as well as this is going to be a huge advantage for a human being also. And apart from that, other advantages we can see the smart cities, like all the homes and offices will be connected, as well as all the transportation system. We can make it smart using the AI system, as well as the Internet of Things. Okay, including, means all together we can develop these kind of you can say functions, or we can say we can develop these kind of applications, as well as in biomedical field, especially in medical field. So there are so many development already happening, and people are using these kind of products, like Google recently developed, means from the DeepMind itself, the sister company of Google. So they developed a diabetic retinopathy diagnostic technology, means which can predict the diabetic retinopathy by examining the eye images. Okay, and the accuracy is more than a human level expert accuracy. Okay, the accuracy which they compare with human level expert is far more greater than the best expert in this world. Okay, so these are the applications, or you can say benefit. There are other benefits also we will discuss later, but these are the major. Okay, we can see in our even today's date. Okay. Now, risks. What are the risks involved? So, if you see these AI algorithms, which are generally developed for with different recognition purpose, like image recognition or object recognition, those models easily can be implemented to detect enemy, or as well as some kind of objects which are associated with in you can say war. Okay. So like different, for example, different you can say weapons, or tank or aircraft. So that can be also, means those vision system, means image recognition system or classification system, that can be also utilized for the development of the self you can say targeting weapons. Okay, which can recognize the target automatically and then fire the you can say weapon automatically. So you are going to use, or people are going to use this kind of development for killing machine to generate killing machine or develop killing machines. Okay, so till now, those companies which means already developed this kind of system, means Lockheed Martin or some other big companies are also there. Samsung also there. Samsung also developing this kind of machine for South Korea. So all these companies already developing or using this kind of autonomous killing machines. But still, till now, they are keeping human in the loop, okay, to avoid any kind of ethical consequences or ethical, uh, problem that may arise. Okay, so what is the ethical problem? Suppose you have developed a algorithm which can be apply for drone in the drone to recognize the enemy and then automatically shoot the enemy. Okay, without keeping human in the loop. Now, suppose somehow, even if, if most advanced algorithm you develop, you cannot guarantee it that it will be 100% accurate all the time. Okay, there may be loopholes. Okay, and it is inevitable. Okay, it may be there, but due to that, if that system somehow misjudge, or you can say make this error or kill a innocent, okay, then there will be ethical question: who will be the responsible person for this? Okay, if there is no human in the loop, whether it's a company, whether it's a developer, okay, who, or whether who or no, purchase that system, or who implement the system, or who helping in the uh, training. Okay, so who will be responsible? There are so many different you can say stakeholder in this system. Then how you are going to make a responsible person, means you can say to whom you can directly ask why this thing happened. Okay, so this is an ethical question. So that's why, to avoid that kind of situation, still those company who already built this kind of killing machine, which have this all these attributes to make it fully autonomous, they still keeping human in the loop. Okay, so one of the latest example is X47B, which has all this capability to be a fully autonomous killing machine. Even you don't have to decide to whom, to which is the which are the enemy, when which are not, and it can directly fire without any input from the user, or you can say the operator. Okay, so this is the latest example, and it is already there in US with US Army. So in future, these are not going to be a new. These are going to be set in new train of war. Okay, it is already there. Okay, if you go Israel, some of the latest development in by Israeli companies, so they are already developing this kind of fully autonomous killing machine, and they are supplying to many of the countries, especially the previous Soviet USSR, some of the countries like previous USSR, like Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is the latest example of the country. Many of you may not heard about this country. It's a small country, Azerbaijan. So they procure, you can say, world the most majority of stocks of autonomous drone from Israel. Okay, so which is a threat to global security also nowadays. Okay, because of this heavy procurement of autonomous drones, which have the capability, fully autonomous capability. Okay, which is a threat for global security nowadays because of this huge purchase by Azerbaijan. So because it is sitting in the nearby Middle East, so it is very vulnerable for the some of the groups which are, means this is vulnerable this because this is which is situated, this Azerbaijan is situated near the Middle East countries. So the the groups which are having vested interest may also procure this kind of system from that country. Okay, not directly from Israel, maybe indirectly they can have this kind of autonomous system. So, which is a global concern now, security concern. Okay, so coming to next, there is another risk which is a very pretty much concern of every AI developer. Okay, those who are doing research in AI, for them this is a very big concern. Okay, basically most of the AI current AI algorithm based on deep learning. Okay, so you may, most of you are computer science guys, so you may know what is deep learning. Okay, this is a neural network having very deep layers. Okay, multiple number of layers. Okay, so most of them are like black box. After you train the network, even the users, means those who are student, they definitely don't know 100% sure. They don't know how this AI algorithm is working. They don't have the clue, and for what attributes, what kind of decision it's making. They, uh, don't the students don't have any clue, because even if the network is a 2 and 3 layers of network, you also don't know for what attributes which nodes are firing. Okay, which neurons is firing for what attributes of the input, and what output is you are getting. So even you cannot explain. Okay, even 2 3 layers of neural network. Now think about those neural network having millions of parameters. Okay, those deep neural network, the latest architectures, inception models, so those have millions of parameters. So for which input, for what, which parameter is giving you the or you can say responsible for a particular output, even the designer of the architect don't know. Okay, those who design the whole architecture, even in the Google or DeepMind or whatever the latest AI lab, so those developers also don't know. Okay, for what attributes, or for what for which you can say parameter, or you can say attributes or features, the decision are being made, you cannot distinguish that one. Okay, so it's look like a black box. Okay, so it is unexplainable. That's why it's called most of the algorithms, especially in deep learning technology, these are unexplainable method. So using that kind of method, if you are developing some applications, okay, and somehow, so for especially for medical purpose, okay, those who are very crucial, uh, one single mistake or single diagnosis, their mistake, the patient may die, or there may be severe consequences. Okay, for a particular small mistake. So that kind of sensitive area, in that kind of sensitive area, if you are using a AI which is not explainable, then it's a very severe. There may be very severe consequences for that. Okay, so we have to have all this information for which a decision has been made. Okay, so we have to have all the information for what parameters, for what features, for what input, all the neurons, what kind of output they are, for all the neurons, for all the layers. Okay, what kind of output it will provide, and what that output, what consequences it will make. All this information we must have. Then only we can say that model is explainable. Okay, so that's why a new trend of research is now emerging, that is called explainable AI. Okay, so this is one of the major concern in AI research. Okay, the risks of, because of this non-explainability of current development, means whatever algorithm currently we are developing, all are 99% of them are unexplainable. Okay, now coming to the future, what kind of future we are expecting. Okay, so if you follow the development of AI, okay, so you may heard about these two major milestones in AI. One is AlphaGo, okay, and one is Dota 3. AlphaGo is from Google, means DeepMind, and Dota 2 is from OpenAI. Okay, so these two are the major milestone in AI development. But why? Okay, why? Because AlphaGo is basically a game, means agent who can play game, board game called Go. Okay, so it's similar like chess, but unlike the chess, it has the almost like millions possibilities by which you can grill your opponent. Okay? There are million possible ways by which you can grill your opponent. So it's almost like impossible to calculate using even a supercomputer. Okay, within finite amount of time. Okay. It is almost impossible. But in chess, it is fairly possible because number of possibility by which you can grill your opponent is very less. Okay, so that's why it is almost impossible. Means in Go board game, it is almost impossible to design a algorithm to play Go, or we can say to play with a human level intelligence. Okay, you can design a board game, definitely, no doubt, but it may fail in means while you are playing with a human level player. But what AlphaGo, means the algorithm AlphaGo, what developed by the Google's DeepMind, so it can play with the human level experts, or it the competition between these means Lisedol and AlphaGo. The AlphaGo win, in a means with a remarkable, you can say marks, you can say the points. Okay, so this competition happened in 2016 in South Korea. So I was there in that time. It was in March, yeah, March 2016. So I was there in Korea. So I saw the excitement level, because Go generally considered like almost like national game, but it is not a national game, but almost like a national game in Korea, and everybody excited about that competition. And Lisedol, he lost this competition against AlphaGo, and it is because Lisedol is considered the top level, player, the best player in the world in Go world, and AlphaGo beats Lisedol. So this is considered as a milestone in the development of AI, because earlier it is not possible, because it's a million possibilities by which you can grill a opponent. It is almost impossible to compute using a computer. Okay, so again, Dota 2, if you go for Dota 2, it's a strategy game. So those who play League of Legends, LOL, so those may be aware about Dota game. So it's a strategy game. It is also, needs a human level intuition. So it's basically most of a art than a, logic. Okay, it's more needs more intuition power than a logical capability. Okay, that's why it is very difficult to design a, algorithm in such kind of for such kind of game, because these are basically based on intuition rather than logics. Okay, so OpenAI developed this Dota 2 agent, which outperform the human level player, expert player. Okay, so these are the you can say scary development, because it surpasses the human level intelligence. So you can say in future the development is very the development of artificial general intelligence is very near. Okay, or who knows, in the very near future maybe we may have this kind of machine which have this all these capability more than a human level, intelligence. Not only playing for game. So this is still a general intelligence because it is developed for playing game. Okay, for a particular task only. But in that particular task, it surpasses the human level intelligence. So this is a scary development. Now think one by one, if you can, mimic all or develop the all the attributes of a human level, human intelligence, and all of them are more than a human level intelligence, and then you can integrate. If you can integrate, then it will be a super. Means the system will be a super having the capability of super intelligence. Okay, so that is you can say scary. Okay, so development is very scary. So that's why the people like Elon Musk or even the physicists like Michio Kaku or the physicist or the Stephen Hawking. So they already advocating to have some kind of regulatory agency to regulate the development of AI so that we can use the development AI, or you can slow down the development AI, or you can regulate the development AI for the benefit of human being. Otherwise, it will be without control. The development will be without control, and there is another risk of demographic, or you can say supremacy means whichever country means it is just like example whichever country will have this supremacy, they are going to develop dominate the world. Okay, so democratization of AI is very crucial. Okay, so that every country equally have this facility or have these systems. Okay, then only there will not be any kind of biasness or any kind of advantage or advantageous situation within which one country or another country may dominate. Okay, so that's why we need the development in a democratic way. We have to spend, or we can say we have to share this knowledge throughout the world. Otherwise, those countries which have this kind of advantage, they are going to use, or they may use it for their benefit. Okay. Okay. So now, what is the solution? What do you think? What is the solution for this? Okay, that development is inevitable. Okay, whether you want or not want, development will happen, and this is inevitable. And sooner or later, we may have this kind of intelligence system which may exhibit human level intelligence or surpass the human level intelligence. That is it's just a question of time. Okay, so what is the solution then for a human being? Okay, one solution is to merge the human intelligence with the digital intelligence. Digital intelligence means the AI systems. Okay, if you can fuse these two intelligence together, then we human also will have the capability what the artificial super intelligence have. Okay, so one of the the solution is cyber. Cyber means you are fusing the digital intelligence with the human intelligence. Okay, and researchers are currently going on, especially in some of the universities where they are implanting some chip on some neuron of some bug, means the brain of some bugs. Okay, and then trying to control the behavior of that bugs. Okay, so NTU, from NTU, so I was doing postdoc there. So in Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. So their professor Hirotaka. So I don't know whether he is now there or not. He was about to leave the university while I was there, but I saw their lab, and they are implanting a silicon chip on a beetle and trying to you can say control their flying pattern or flying behavior. Okay, they just trying to if they have joystick, and using joystick they can manipulate the flying path of the beetle. Okay, if they are flying, they can turn left and turn right according to the instruction from the joystick. Okay, and this is manipulated using the implanted chip on the this beetle. Okay. So that kind of already development is already there. And one group where I work, means that group, in that group I work there in NTU, they are trying to control the activity of monkey, okay, live monkey, okay, by implanting this neural chip. Okay, so this is a collaboration between NUS, National University of Singapore, and Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, and they somehow able to you can say control the behavior of a monkey. Okay, so these are just in a primitive stage, but in near future this is going to be in a big way. Okay, and one company is perfectly dedicated for this. This is again funded by Elon Musk. This is called Neuralink, and their objective is same. The objective is to fuse the digital intelligence with human intelligence, but still they are in very primitive stage. Okay, so their objective is finally the making human as a cyborg, but currently they are whatever development they are having. These are very primitive stage, and they are currently trying to solve some of the diseases like Alzheimer disease by implanting a neural chip on human brain or the patients of those who are suffering from Alzheimer disease. But this is just a beginning. Okay, near future this may be possible. Okay, so this is a new trend. Okay, in AI research to fuse human intelligence with the digital intelligence. Okay, now come to the next part, which is, so till now we just discussed the introduction on what is AI and how AI, the scenario means the world look like with AI in future. Now come to the part this where I am going to discuss the development of AI in medical you can say field. So there are many applications currently going on, okay, in the field of healthcare, or you can say medical, using AI. Okay, so especially there means the common one is the develop some kind of app which have some kind of intelligence to you can say give preliminary investigation or preliminary Q&A. Q&A means if you have some kind of query, the chatbot means the art using AI. If you develop some medical chatbot, which can give preliminary examination or preliminary diagnosis based on your query. Okay, not just medical report, based on your query, what kind of symptoms you have and other thing. If you give the input, they can give some kind of suggestion or to which doctor you should consult. Okay, that kind of uh, features or that kind of applications people are developing. So these are very general. Okay. So using natural language processing, people are using this kind of chatbots to help the you can say clinics, or you can say big hospitals. Okay, at least have the segregation of category of the patients. Okay, so if you are if you are suffering from skin disease, okay, and if you give the symptoms, so they indirectly they, based on that, you can they can, the chatbot can prefer you to whom or which expert or which doctor you should consult. Okay, so the preliminary you can say processing will be done by this kind of chatbot. Earlier this are done by currently also done by the representative or the office person. Okay, or you can say the front desk people. Okay, so this can be done by chatbot now. Okay, so next, which is common nowadays, the wearable devices, like many of you may have these smart watches which have this capability to you know uh, take the reading of your ECG or heart pulse, or take the reading of your oxygen saturation level, or take the reading of glucose. Okay, there are some special gadgets, wearable gadgets are there which can take the glucose level by reading by using your sweats. So that kind of wearable device, and then prediction means the no these are can be these data can be gathered by sensors, different kind of sensors, but who is going to predict this sensor, or who is going to read or interpret these data from the sensor? Okay, so for that you need a AI algorithm. Okay, people are using AI algorithm to predict based on your input, based on the inputs from the wearable devices. Okay, so that is one of the applications which are currently going on. Then come to the personalized genetics. Okay, one of the major use case of AI development in AI. So you can see the recent in our recent scenario means COVID-19. Okay, so how can you say no before? So if you look in the last few pandemics, okay, not this COVID pandemics, if you see last few pandemics like SARS, as well as bird flu, as well as Ebola, these are now the develop the vaccine takes a quite substantial time, not within 1 year. Okay, there is no history of development of a vaccine within 1 year. Okay, but if you see the current development of the vaccines, okay, so these are within the year of the pandemic. Okay, and this was not possible without the help of the data analysis made by this AI algorithm on the genetic expressions of the COVID-19 virus. Okay, so this analysis means genetic analysis shared by these companies, okay, to develop the AI, and most of these gene expressions are openly available, and many of the bioinformatics groups mining the this genetics data to find out a proper solution for, or you can say proper vaccine for the uh, this coronavirus. So that's how this development happens very rapidly. First one is the involvement in AI, and second one is sharing of data. Okay, sharing of data, even the the lab which we generally consider is responsible for the outbreak, the Wuhan lab of China. They also shared the genetic data of COVID-19 virus. Otherwise, the development of vaccine within this short period is almost like impossible. Okay, so that is one of the major use case, you can say, of AI in the field of medical medicine, you can say. Okay, so there is another development is mental health. So I'm not going to discuss the details about it because I'm not ever in detail about it. Okay, and then skin obviously. So it is a most obvious use of AI, especially the vision sensors. So you can image the screen of a patient, and you can find out what kind of diseases are there, or the patient is suffering based on the predefined or supervised learning method. So there is already there. Okay, this is just vision based application. Okay, telemedicine. So I will discuss this one in detail because my area fall under this category, means telemedicine devices. Okay, and the drug discovery. Okay, one of the application in the medical field of AI is drug discovery, as I explained just now. Okay, by mining the gene data. Okay, of the various you can say viruses as well as bacteria. You can figure it out what kind of protein you generally need, or combinations of protein, or combinations of different artificial material you may need to imbibe in your vaccines. Okay, so then permutation combinations as well as data mining can be done by artificial intelligence. And recently you may aware about this AlphaFold, developed by Google DeepMind, the folding protein folding you can say algorithm. Okay, the protein folding is one of the major you can say problem in the field of medical science, especially drug development. Okay, so even if you find a particular protein, how it's going to fold and what kind of folding it will be, that determines generally what kind of target cell will it will attack, or what kind of target cell it will form. Okay, based on the folding only. Okay, how many different folds are there, how many nodes are there, so that determines or that govern the property of that protein. Okay, so protein folding, one of the major research area. Okay, say, or you can say major area of you can say or you can say major you can say problem in the field of you can say medicine, as well as in the field of bioinformatics, especially in the field of bioinformatics. Okay, and that is solved by, and solved by, not only solved, that is in a very high margin, solved by the Google's DeepMind team. Okay, and that algorithm is already available. Okay, so which again going to use for development of many new type of medicines, and which definitely going to accelerate exponentially the development of new kind of drug, especially genetically developed drug. Okay. Okay, third one is in clinical trial. So as I mentioned previously about the COVID-19, so clinical trial, while generally we generally use these kind of reactions, or you can say observe the you can say reaction, or you can say behavior of the drug on human or some kind of animal, by injecting that medicine to that subject, whether it's an animal or human. Okay, so there are some ethical consequences or ethical guideline for this kind of trials. Okay, we cannot arbitrarily use any kind of animal and use for it trial of the medicine. Okay, so instead, if we can simulate the behavior of the this developed medicine, and then if in simulation it is find that okay, this is safe for human trial or animal trial, then only if we proceed for human trial, then it will be more logical as well as more safe compared to directly injecting or directly using animal or human for the trial. Okay, so in this regards, AI based subjects are currently developed to mimic the human level, you can say the subject, or for that particular drug. Okay, so that is one of the use case of AI in clinical trials. Okay, so genetic research, one of the already I discussed how we are going to use AI in genetic research, and then we can use this AI for mining the medical records of patients. Okay, some of the applications we may develop based on the patient's history. Okay, that is also a ethical issue. There are some ethical issues will be there, but if we can find all the medical records of all the human being, or you can say most of the human being on the planet, on this planet, okay, and based on that, if we develop a system that will contain all the history of human diseases as well as their treatment and their results, then we can come up with a new AI system which will have the knowledge just like a medicine doctor. Okay, those medicine expert in medicine, and means MD in medicine, they generally, what they generally do, they just look at the patient's symptoms or some records of some laboratory test, and then based on the that report they prescribe medicine. Now imagine if we have all this data of all the patients of the world, okay, and their recovery results also, okay, discharge report or the recovery results, and their means what kind of outcome after prescribing some kind of medication. So if we have all this data, then you can imagine we can train the AI which will have almost like intelligence like a human level MD in medicine. Okay, not maybe all for all the fields, but definitely for the majority of the common diseases. Okay, so that may be one of the major use cases we can imagine. Okay, using AI. So similarly, data analytics, whatever we discussed, that is fall under the data analytics. Okay, medical imaging. I am going to discuss the medical imaging applications in detail within few slides. Okay, so these are the development of AI, or you can say use case of AI in medical field. Okay, and if you see this slide, in this slide, there are so many companies names for each of these classes or verticals already there. So you can imagine how many different companies are nowadays there to use AI in the field of medicine, okay, or medical domain. Okay, there are so many thousands of different companies already investing heavily in AI research. Okay, only in the medical field. Okay. Okay, so this slide is there. So if you go through this company, so you will know more about this kind of development. Okay. Now coming to next. So as I discussed previously, so one of the major milestone set by the Google, uh, especially in the field of detection or prediction of diabetic retinopathy, and more this development by Google DeepMind, the artificial diabetic retinopathy detection mechanism. So the accuracy is more than 90%, for more than 90% in some cases, means is near about 98%. So it's generally surpass the human level expert intelligence in predicting, okay, not just diagnose, in predicting the possibility of diabetic retinopathy. Why this is very crucial? Because predicting the diabetic retinopathy of a diabetic patient is very difficult. Okay, and with that accuracy, means over the 90% accuracy, if you can detect diabetes, not detect, the predict that one patient is going to be a diabetic retinopathy patient in near future, that is very crucial. One part is of the development is the detecting or diagnose diabetic retinopathy who are already suffering from diabetic retinopathy. That is already there, means it can be surpass the human level intelligence easily, but surpassing the human intelligence in predicting the near future diabetic retinopathy cases is very, very crucial, and which is done by this artificial system developed by Google DeepMind in a very remarkable way. So that is a very good, you can say development, or you can say use case of artificial intelligence in medical field. Okay, so if you go through these papers, there are so many papers available in Google DeepMind's website. A few of them are dedicated, especially for this development of diabetic retinopathy prediction mechanism. Okay, so you can. I'm requesting you to please go through these papers, which are generally published in Nature. So you can go through this and then can find out more about this. One of the major, a contributor in this research is an US based Indian, Varun Gulshan. So his name, I mentioned his name here. So he is in Google's research team. So he has this contribution, means remarkable contribution in this research also. Okay. Also, they have developed, another algorithm which can, detect or diagnose, cancer, especially in lung cancer, and which surpass the human level expert intelligence also. Okay, it is surpassing the human expert also. Okay, so another development which already I discussed, this is Neuralink. Already Elon Musk company, that company, where Elon Musk has demonstrated how a robotic surgery machine which is used to implant a silicon chip on a on different subjects, not only human, also in different animals also, especially pig. Okay, so this is also a new development in the field of medical, in the field of medicine, because this may be used for different to solve many diseases which is related to brain. Okay, especially the Alzheimer disease, epilepsy disease. So this kind of diseases which are generally based on nerve system, human nerve system, so that can be solved. Okay. Now come to the my topic, means what I am doing currently. Okay, so currently my area of research is to develop a telemedicine facility which can diagnose the pathological diseases automatically, especially blood related diseases. Okay, mostly the pathological disease, if you say, in pathological lab, so most of the preliminary investigation done by by examining your pathological samples, especially blood. Okay, if you examine blood, you will find thousands of parameters. You can diagnose thousands of parameters on which different kind of diseases may occur. Okay, just for example, the common, which is very prominent, you can say disease in India, especially for women, is anemia. So anemia is, you can search Google. So what is the scenario of India in terms of anemia? Not only India, this is a global, you can say, concern, anemia disease. Though we talk less about this, and very few articles being published in this kind of field, but it's one of the major concern, or you can say burden, a health burden for a country, anemia, because this also lead to many fetal you can say die, many fetal, or you can say newborn die because of this disease. Okay, also the woman who is generally pregnant, they also suffer from this disease, and many cases of patients or mother or newborn die because of this kind of diseases. Okay, so this is a major concern of Indian in Indian scenario. So we can solve this kind of issue. Means why this is a very serious issue, or why it is one of the major health hazard in India, because the lack of diagnosis facility. Okay, there are so many diagnoses, or you can say mechanism by which you can detect many even pregnancy, but there are very few diagnosis method by which you can diagnose the means you can say anemia, because it needs your samples, red blood cell samples, even in the whole blood count you need, means how many red blood cell or white blood cell, and different parts of white blood cells are there in a blood sample that we need to diagnose, or that we need to detect to diagnose this kind of anemia diseases. The problem is that miscount. Miscount means those operators who generally count number of this kind of cells. Traditionally, this is being done using microscope, a traditional microscope. Okay, so traditional microscope, especially those countries which are resource limited, or those regions which are resource limited, generally there this kind of observation done by using common microscope, or you can say light microscope. The problem of this common microscope is that you just have to manually observe the number of cells and then count using counter, by clicking the, there is a clock to count, a manual clock to count the number of events. Okay, that generally used to count the number of samples. Okay, number of RBC and WBC. And again, to count the number of RBC and WBC, you have to dilute it because there are millions of red blood cell in a in a drop of your one drop of blood. Okay, so you cannot count million of blood cell using a microscope, and definitely you are going to miscalculate. Okay, so it is almost impossible by a human eye to focus all the time and then count a million of samples. That's why you have to dilute means you have to add some chemicals to reduce the number of RBC, and you have to keep the reading of dilution ratio. And once you find the number of samples in a particular diluted sample, and then you multiply with the dilution factor, okay, then only you count the what is the actual amount of RBCs are there in a particular sample. In both the cases, when counting as well as diluting, okay, you have subjective error. Subjective error means if you are a little bit here and there will give you the more huge difference in the reading. Okay, even in counting and even in diluting. Okay, so that means the subjective error, the result suffers from subjective error. That's why most of the cases of this kind of examination suffers from big reporting. Okay, and you can say why then there are not automatic methods. There are automatic methods. Okay, flow cytometer, Coulter counter, these are automatic methods. But problem is that these are very, very bulky and very expensive machines. Okay, very expensive machines means the one flow cytometers is about means good flow cytometers about 2 and 3 crore rupees. Okay, Indian rupees. Okay, so and not only that, it is very bulky, means you need almost like 20 by 20 feet room to accommodate that machine, and you need utility means to support that machine you need good air conditioned room, you need some solvent means the chemicals to run this experiment, as well as need the super expert to handle this kind of machine. Okay, so you can imagine you cannot put this kind of automated machine in a rural village. How many rural villages will have this kind of you can facilitate this kind of sophisticated machine only for counting red blood cell? Okay, or some more pathological diseases. Okay, only for few parameters you cannot put 2 crore type of equipment with some utility cost, having so many utility costs and an expert appointing an expert for dedicated for that only. So it is very costly. That's why in remote part of India or other part means resource limited part of the world, these kind of facilities are not there. That's why the reporting of this kind of or diagnosis of this kind of diseases are not done properly in remote part of the world. Forget about the metropolitan cities. Even in the metropolitan cities, so many cases are there because people are not go for this kind of diagnosis. Okay, even in the metropolitan. So that's why misreporting as well as false reporting. So this kind of problem are there for diagnosis of this kind of pathological diseases. So now, what is the solution? So solution would be, if we can develop a cost-effective way to automatically diagnose or automatically count this kind of number of shells, number of particles in the pathological sample. Whether maybe this is a cell from your blood cell, or whether maybe it's bacteria or viruses. Okay, if you can count automatically without any human intervention, and if it is giving the result without any human intervention, then that means we are reducing the factors which are generally responsible for misreporting or misdiagnosis. Okay, so one of the solution what I developed in during my PhD is now to develop a system which can image. First of all, you need a imaging system which will be cost effective. Okay, we don't need a 2 crore rupees of machine to image Otherwise, it will not be cost effective. So we need a cost effective solution to image this kind of particle, means the cells, red blood cells. The cell dimension of a red blood cell is about 7 to 10 micrometer. Okay, and white blood cell is on average 15 micrometer. Okay, 15 micrometer is very small. Okay, very even you cannot distinguish by using your conventional microscope. You need about 40x zoom, 40x in the subjective lens, and then 10x in objective lens. Then it will be almost 400 times. That means you have to magnify about 400 times. Then only you can observe these blood cells using your eye. You have to magnify it almost 400 times. Then only you can distinguish the cells. So which is almost you can say impossible using some kind of low cost devices. So this is only possible using some kind of lens mechanism or optics mechanism or some kind of electron microscopy mechanism. But those are costly because using a lens in a system, just you can imagine your DSLR. So in DSLR, your camera. So what is the costly component in the DSLR? These are the lenses are the costly components compared to your the sensor device, the camera itself. Okay, the most costly component is the lenses. Okay, the business is basically done by those companies generally do business in the lenses, not the camera. Just like your printer. Okay, the printer companies generally do businesses for the cartridges, not the printer machine. Okay, once you buy a printer, you have to definitely buy cartridges. Similarly, once you have a DSLR, if you are a professional, you need multiple number of lenses. Okay, they generally do business in the lenses. That means lens is a costly component because the manufacturing process as well as the component used in the lens are very expensive. Okay, so what I find, come up with the idea. There is a new technique called digital inline holography. So I will come to this slide later. So first I will explain what is digital inline holography. So in digital inline holography, if you use a coherent light, light source, and if you pass through a sample means your some having blood cells or any other microorganism which having the size near about micrometer, and this coherent light pass through that sample, and if you fall if you allow to fall this on a bare microscope, you can say CCD sensor or CMOS sensor, then it generally forms some patterns, diffraction pattern of each individual cell. Okay, so that you can say that cells that diffraction patterns generally govern the physical and optical properties of the cells. That means you can distinguish the different type of cell by observing the different diffraction patterns. That means each type of cell will have different diffraction signatures. Okay, signatures. This diffraction pattern generally having circular, pattern in it's a circular looking pattern, but though it's look like same, but they exhibit different properties. So I will explain later how it's generally different. Here the only advantage here is not only advantage, but the major advantage here is we don't need any kind of lens. Okay, only thing is that you need a coherent light source. A laser is a coherent light source, or a particular type of LEDs like blue LEDs. Okay, they have semi-coherent features. Okay, they have particular wavelength having maximum intensity. Okay, so it is like semi-coherent, or you can use laser. Laser is perfectly coherent. Okay, having only one single wavelength. So that type of light source you need, and you need a sensor. Sensor means the image sensors like CCD and CMOS image sensor. So if you shoot this kind of light through a sample having microorganism, and then allow it to on the sensor, then it will capture the diffraction pattern of that kind of microorganism. Okay, and each of these microorganisms have different diffraction patterns. Okay, for example, this is from my physical examination. Okay, I am using from this RBC and WBC from my blood only. Means I inject my blood there and find these diffraction patterns, as well as I use different cancer cells like MCF7 and HEPZ2. These are lab grown cells, as well as 10 micrometer and 20 micrometer artificial beads. Means these are glass beads artificially designed. Okay, so I keep all these separately in different separate samples, and then take images using custom developed this microscope. One is DIS microscope, means digital inline holography based microscope, and then find their features. If I plot 2D contour plot, so you can see for each of these cell, means RBC, WBC, MCF7, HEPZ2, 10 micrometer bead, 20 micrometer bead, you will find different signatures. Okay, so if you see the though in the diffraction signature, means the top row is look like same, but if you see the contour plot is almost having some unique signature. Okay, so these unique signatures, telling what kind of different type of cells are there in a sample. Okay, now imagine if we can develop a algorithm which can automatically identify this signature. Okay, and then based on this identification, it can automatically give the information what kind of cells are there in that sample, then automatically we can diagnose. Okay, means what kind of diseases are there. Okay, so for that, what we did, we first developed this hardware. In that hardware, we have this light source, blue LED, having the peak wavelength about 470 nanometer, and then a C-chip. C-chip is basically a chip which generally holds the sample. Sample means blood sample or other sample, microfluidic, not that pathological samples. Okay, so it's generally having the volume of this. There is a chamber. This chamber can contain 10 microliter of volume of sample. In that 10 microliter, how many different type of cells and how many means what kind of cell sample will be there? It is depends upon your input samples, means what kind of samples you are taking from the human subject or other animal subjects. It's totally up to you. Now this cell means C-chip can be placed on top of a CMOS sensor. Okay, this CMOS sensor basically just beneath of the this C-chip means the sample holder, means the C-chip generally sit on top of this CMOS sensor. Okay, just touching the CMOS sensor, you can place the C-chip. Okay, and thus, if you illuminate with the blue LED light, you can take the images of the different microparticles or different samples. Okay, so one particular this output from this custom developed DIS sample is look like this. Okay, the whole frame image DIS image in this slide, if you see, this contains this may contains the field of view is again 20 times to that of a general microscope. Means if you take a microscope image of a general microscope, the field of view, that means how many area it covers, that is called field of view. This DIS microscope about 20 times to that of that traditional microscope field of view. That means at a time you can examine 20 times more area compared to a traditional light microscope. Okay, that means you can observe more number of area, and which will facilitate to proper diagnose. More area means you can cover more number of samples, and then your count will be more accurate. Okay, if you do automatically. If you do manually, in more area means you are prone to more number of errors. Okay, because your subjective error will be there. Okay, so more area for manual inspection means more more prone to subjective error. But in automatic method, since it will be done automatically, more area means you have the advantage of having more accurate result, because you are looking at more number of areas, okay, at a time. Okay, so this can contains more number of samples, or at least few hundred samples together. Samples means few hundred cells together. Okay, it can observe. And one, so I giving one crop and magnified image, one particular, if you see this image, one particular for a one particular. So okay, can I have, okay, not. Okay, I am taking this laser pointer. So here you can see this is a particular sample. I cropping it and make for your reference. I am magnifying it. Okay, like that. There are maybe hundred of samples in this particular image of a DIS microscope. Okay, that means you can image at least few hundred of samples or few hundred of cells in a particular image, and then use the custom developed algorithm to identify and quantify. Okay, so for that, what we did, we have developed a architecture based on deep learning, especially convolution neural network CNN architecture. There are denoising mechanism also there before coming to the classification algorithm, but I am not going to discuss about the denoising mechanism. So I use autoencoder for denoising. I use my students are developing this one. So my students are come up with a classification algorithm, CNN classification algorithm. For that, what we did, we first make a database of different kind of cell samples. Okay, for RBC, WBC, and other samples like MCF, FG2, 10 micrometer bead, 20 micrometer bead, and then we make a database for each of these, about thousands of samples. Okay, thousands of samples for each of these classes. Okay, and then train the convolution neural network to classify, means we level them for each of these classes, means for different type of samples. We level it and then train the convolution neural network for the classification purpose. Okay, and then after the training, we passed a before that we also have segmentation mechanism. Okay, because this is a whole frame image, we have to segment each of these, just like we crop here a particular cell. Okay, that also have to be done automatically. So there is a segmentation mechanism. So there are segmentation algorithm also we use, but I am not going to use that here because this is AI based seminar. So in the segmentation, we use image processing based traditional segmentation mechanism. So I am not going to discuss detailedly here the segmentation mechanism, but before going for classification, this whole frame image, microscope image, DIS microscope image, going through a segmentation algorithm. Then all of these samples get segmented by 66 by 66 pixels window. Okay, and after segmentation, each of these segmented cell then passing through the classification algorithm, means the CNN algorithm, and then we then identify which cell belongs to which class, and then their population. Each of these cells classification means class populations, means how many cells are there. So that's how we generally calculate how many RBC, how many WBC, how many other MCF7, FG2, 10 micrometer, 20 micrometer bits are there in a heterogeneous sample. Heterogeneous sample means mixing. If I mix all these samples together and then put in the microscope, then the algorithm should able to identify each of these sample and then give the result accordingly. Okay, so that is we have done. Okay, and then we compare this result with manual inspection. We have manual microscope also, and for the same sample, for the same prepared sample, we compare our result, means from DIS microscope as well as our algorithm result with manual inspection of a traditional microscope. We manually inspect that same sample under a traditional microscope and count all the different type of cells and then compare with our result. Okay, and this comparison you can see for a 10 micrometer bead and 20 micrometer bead is having almost 99% accuracy. Also, MCF7 HEPZ2, these are having suffers from low accuracy. So I will explain why we got low accuracy. And RBC WBC almost like 100% accuracy. Okay, 10-20 micrometer almost like 99% accuracy. RBC WBC almost like 100% accuracy. And then this MCF and HEPZ2, these are cancer cells. These are generally suffer from accuracy. Okay, so why so? Because this MCF and HEPZ2, these cells are not having uniform in nature. Means if you go cell by cell, each cell having different shape or different optical properties. Means they're inside the cell, whatever liquid or whatever proteins are there, they are not similar. Because of that, even if we are taking same number of MCF7 and HEPZ2 samples for thousands of different cells, okay, same type of cells, they are having distribution, different. You can say the standard deviation of that class is very high compared to other class. Okay, that's why even in the training it suffers from this low accuracy. Okay, that's why these two samples are showing less accuracy compared to other cells. Okay, and we also use transfer of learning in our method. This transfer of learning, what it actually does, we train our network without showing RBC. Okay, and then test the sample. In test, we use RBC. While we do that, we find that in that method, after the testing, we find very less accuracy, means almost zero. Here is zero for RBC, means it cannot detect the RBC because we didn't show the network, means the artificial intelligence at the time of training the RBC samples. Now, why we are doing this? Because suppose we develop a telemedicine device for recognizing one particular type of cell samples or few particular type of cell samples. Now suddenly we need to diagnose a particular different device, different disease, okay, which is not trained previously. Then it is not going to recognize that disease or that cell. Okay, so the traditionally, what if you use traditional image processing system for recognition, then what is the solution for that? You have to design another algorithm to detect that kind of disease. Okay, you have to train or you have to manually code there to identify the attributes of that particular new disease. Okay, now in deep learning, one of the advantages is the transfer of learning. Okay, once you train a network to classify few particular diseases or few particular cells, that trained network you can use to retrain a new architecture, means the same architecture but a new for a new sample within a very few samples of new sample. Okay, so what we did, once we trained, we use the trained network which was previously not shown for RBC. Now again we use that network to recognize RBC again. So we find that previously that model what required for ground up to number of samples to classify a different type of cells. So if you see, so it takes almost if you see in the training, so that accuracy, to get that accuracy, it takes lots of number of epochs. Okay, compared to to get that accuracy, one accuracy one. So for getting that accuracy. So what number of epochs it needs, it drastically reduce while we use transfer of learning. So if you see this transfer of learning, this is for transfer of learning, means this new training for using new samples, like here you use RBC for the new training. So it needs only 2 epoch to get a better accuracy. Okay. So earlier, what we need to get to better accuracy, we need if you see this training is so if you compare this validation, okay, validation, this is earlier and this is transfer. Okay, this validation, it is never went to number 1 accuracy, but it is also taking longer number of epochs to get better accuracy. Okay, but whereas in transfer of learning, so we get we need few number of epochs to get better accuracy. Okay, so this is the flexibility provided by deep learning technology to transfer the learning to recognize a new type of samples within very few number of epochs, or you can say few number of samples. Epoch means in either way you can say few number of samples. Okay, so now when we tested the train network for recognizing the new samples like RBC, so it is almost getting better accuracy, not like 100% accuracy, but it is having 94% accuracy. So that means what? In conclusion, we can say that we can use this sample for a technique for develop a flexible or adaptive telemedicine device, which can be used for recognizing a new type of cell line or new type of disease within using very few number of samples, or you can say very low number of databases. So that is the advantages, or it may not need a human intervention either until and unless we have a proper label. Okay, means if you have a proper label data for a new type of diseases, then definitely we can use that data to retrain the model for recognizing new number of samples or new number of diseases. Okay, so that is the flexibility we have. So ultimately, what is the benefit we have? The benefit we have, the cost of this device reduces drastically. Okay, since we need only a coherent light source and a sensor, so which is almost like a few $100. So we can develop this system within a very cost-effective way. So the overall device we can fabricate within few $100. Okay, which is generally in conventional microscope it takes at least a few lakhs of if you want to buy a good traditional microscope, that is also come under 4 lakh rupees. Good, and the low one you will get few within few lakhs. But the very high end traditional microscope you will get at least you need 10 lakh of rupees. Okay, but that same for that same objective we can develop our DIS microscope within few $100, maybe within 5,000 to 10,000 rupees. Okay, that is one of the advantage. And second advantage is, since we are not using any kind of lenses, so the system will be very compact. So because we need in traditional microscope, we need to have focal distance, keep the focal distance intact, so that there will be more clarity in the images. And it generally they are maintained by keeping a distance between subjective and objective lens. Okay, since we are not using any kind of lens, we can compact fit this device in a very compact dimension. Okay, so that is one of the advantages. That means your device will be very small. Okay, and second one will be cost effective. Third one advantage is, since we are using a automated detection and classification algorithm, or you can segmentation algorithm, so we don't need any kind of human intervention. Okay, so that means a person who can pick or who can take the sample, that person can use the device itself. Okay, a nurse can use the device. We don't need any extra expert who can handle the device. Okay, if you train a nurse, to how to handle this small device, he can or she can do that. Okay. But in a automated, there are automated methods, as I mentioned, the automated, the flow cytometer and filter counter. So that automated method needs a specially trained person to operate that particular machine apart from the sample technique. Sample will be taken by a nurse and somebody, and that expert will run the device and take out the result, and then that result will be sent to a doctor or pathologist to diagnose for a particular disease. Here in our system, one more advantage is there, that since the quantification is done by algorithm itself, we can give the training of the or train the network or the train the algorithm for giving the output as a diagnosis also for what kind of disease or what disease is there in the sample. Okay, what kind of microbial or microorganism is there, that also can be provided by the algorithm itself. Okay, so we have so many these kind of advantages in using our method, and based on that we have developed the prototype 1 already while I was in PhD. Prototype 2 already been developed and it is almost like commercialization. And PDPU we are developing prototype 3, which will be transmit this data to a remote station, okay, using Wi-Fi or BLE. So we can transmit it to other users and also to a smartphone, so that it can be verified by the expert user if needed. Okay, so that will be a total solution for a telemedicine device. Means you can use this device in some remote part of Gujarat, and then in Ahmedabad immediately within fraction of second or fraction of minute, the expert user or the doctor or pathologist will get the images, and then based on that they can diagnose. And one more advantage is that we can save the images for future reference. Okay, the same image on which the diagnosis has been made by the algorithm, that will be intact along with the result. Okay, if because for any dispute we can go back to that raw result, and then we can find out if there is some kind of if there is, okay, we no system is perfectly 100% accurate. If there is some misdiagnosis, we can again go back to that raw images and then reprocess the result, okay, along with the human level intervention or some expert level intervention. Okay, so these are the few development what we have currently at our lab at PDEU. And if you are interested, some of your students may be interested to do internship at PDEU. Also, we have internship facility, so we can exchange our students from Nirma University to PDEU also. No problem at all. If you want to do some kind of research at PDEU also, being a student of Nirma University also, that is also possible. Okay. Okay, so that's it from my side. Thank you. So if you have any question, please go ahead now. Students, if you have any question, please go ahead. Hope I am audible. Anita ma'am, am I audible? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I am requesting you to okay. If you have any question, please go ahead. Hope I have finished in time. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes. Uh, so, students, do you have any doubt or you want to discuss something with sir? So, probably they might have sent a private message to you, like if they have any doubt or if they have any queries. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead if you have any question.
Okay. So I think they're not posting any questions. So probably.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so probably you might have received some questions in your chat window.
Okay, let me check.
Okay.
Okay, so there are so many questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let me check the chat box.
Students can send a message to publicly to everyone or privately only to you, sir, to the presenter. So probably
Okay.
might have sent it to you.
Okay, so one question is AI. Okay, again, chat box is why chat box is disappearing. Okay, okay. One question is AI robot Sophia be level 2 AI? The answer is no. Sophia itself is a narrow AI. Though people say that okay, it says showing some kind of emotion, but that emotion is basically triggered by human. Actually, it is supervised learning. Okay, it's not exhibiting emotions by its own. It is trained for exhibiting the emotion. Okay, so that's why Sophia is not a level 2 AI. Means it doesn't have self emotion or self awareness. It's exhibiting based on their training provided by the developers. Okay, so it's a narrow AI, completely narrow AI. So don't confuse that Sophia is a human level intelligence. Okay. Okay, so next question is, sir, why do you need such kind of technology of ASI and AGI? What is definite? What is the difficulty we are facing now in life? We are facing now in living our lives. Okay. Okay, so the ASI and AGI, so it is inevitable. Definitely, in near future, we are going to face this AGI and ASI. Why we need? Because this all technology. If you see the revolution in this, all the industrial revolution, so people ask this: why we need this kind of technology? Whether it's a first industrial revolution or second, now is fourth industrial revolution. We need because to keep our human generation in progressive mode. Okay, otherwise we will be stagnant definitely. But why we need definitely this is the question answer. But only thing is that whether there will be consequences. Definitely there will be consequences. There will be disruption in the human you can say job market as well as some of the facilities just like we mentioned in our talk. But all this disruption comes with a cost. Okay, so we have to pay some cost definitely for this disruption. But again, in long run, it is going to be for the beneficiary of human being. Only thing is that how we are going to use it so that it will be most of we can take the most of the benefit from out of it. Okay, so nuclear development also a scary development, but currently you can see we can use the nuclear development in for the beneficiary of for the benefit of the human beings. Okay, so same thing will goes for the AI. Okay. Elon Musk recorded the brain activity of a monkey. What it is called, sir? I don't know. I don't know the brain activity of monkey of Elon Musk. What is called it? I don't know because I never went through their all detailed report. Okay. Okay, so that's it. These are the few questions. Okay, if you have any question, furthermore, you can mail at my email ID too.
Okay, there's one last question which has come on my chat window, sir.
Yeah.
That is, most of the contents of your slide had specialized hardware kind of things. So the
Yeah.
question is whether we need to work in conjunction with electrical, electronic students